Hi, welcome to our latest edition of TA Talks with Social Talent. I'm Holly Fawcett from Social Talent. I'm here today with Colette Feeney, the EMEA Recruitment Director for Groupon. Colette, you're so welcome to our studio today. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks for having me here, Holly.
We are going to talk all things about transplanting culture and moving where we have a big US global head office and transporting that around the world. So you're recruiting in 11 offices? EMEA?
So we have 10 countries that we're operational in EMEA, and we have 2 large offices in one of those countries, which is Poland.
So 11 offices in total.
11 offices in total, and through that we would recruit salespeople, customer service people, engineering people, executive and corporate people. So anything that looks or feels like recruitment in EMEA falls into my team.
Fantastic. So what is the American office like, and is the other 11 offices, are they different? Have you kind of a corresponding theme across the whole business?
I guess the Groupon culture, is quite distinctive, but within that we would have microcultures in different offices. So all of that would be driven by our 5 values, which are really good values, but they might be interpreted in slightly different ways in different offices. So our values are things like, don't have to go through them all, but community is our first value, and Groupon, our mission is to be the marketplace for local commerce, and that's what drives everything that we do at Groupon. So I suppose within that, my team, we're not connecting merchants with customers, which is what Groupon is about, but we have our own communities within that. So we would have our communities of candidates, we'd have communities with our major stakeholders in the business. So it's certainly translatable within my team. But in answer to your question, is the Berlin office culture exactly the same as the Chicago office culture or the Milan office culture or San Francisco? No, but I think you would recognize Groupon and our core values in all of those offices. The finance team in London would not be the same culture as the sales team in Milan, but you would see some similarities, and probably even, the engineering office in Berlin would have a different culture to the sales office in Berlin, even though they sit really close to each other. Yeah. So I think the beauty of it is that we all know our core values and what it means to work at Groupon. We use those, they're very, very relevant to our day-to-day work, but we may, depending on which function we work in, adopt them to what we do as a function.
Yeah, so relatively global in terms of our overarching mission is there, and it's really felt amongst everybody, and they interpret it in their own way. Yeah, that's really powerful, actually. Yeah. So acquisition is always going to be a bit of a struggle, I think, from a talent acquisition perspective. Were there any struggles or problems? Was it all go nice and smooth and no problems at all?
Well, the acquisition happened long before my time, so I wasn't there in the heat of that. I suppose I did see some of what was left, and as we started to centralize, because what I believe is after the acquisition it was left and run as a similar company. It was only shortly before I joined Groupon that Groupon decided to try and centralize everything, and that was departments, that was people, that was also processes, it was systems. So for example, to bring it to TA, when I joined 3 years ago, we had 15 different ATS systems in 23 countries. So we had, lots of different software. Each country had bought their own out of their own local budget. We also had Excel spreadsheets. We had bits of paper. We had filing cabinets with hard copy CVs some countries. Yeah. So, trying to run a report, time to fill. I mean, we didn't even know how many open recs we had, in EMEA at any one time. So to find out for our president at the time how many open jobs we were recruiting for in EMEA, it would take me about 15 phone calls. By the time I had the 15th piece of information, it was out of date because somebody else had opened recs. So, we've evolved from that, but it was at that level of decentralization where we didn't have systems that talk to each other. We now have a global ATS system, which is wonderful to have, and we're starting to get some, really meaningful data out of that now. But, in a short space of time, we've come from a very, very decentralized, not just people, but systems as well.
So is decentralization a positive thing then, do you think, or to a limit, maybe?
It's a really positive thing, because our business is still somewhat decentralised by nature of what we do, and the local communities and local merchants. I think it can go too far. People do need to feel part of an internal community. We do need meaningful data, on a practical level, to do our jobs effectively. So I think a certain level of decentralisation, where we came from, 3 years ago, where there were almost 40 recruiters who didn't know each other in 23 locations. So, there were recruiters in Berlin who knew that there were recruiters in London and Paris, but had never spoken to them and didn't know their names. That's a step too far for me in terms of decentralisation. But do we all need to be in one office in London or Dublin or Paris? No, I don't think we do, and I don't think necessarily we should do, in order to serve our local customers and external and internal really well. So I think there's a happy medium, and I like to think that we're just about at the happy medium now, whereas I've got a large hub of recruiters in London, a large hub of recruiters in Dublin, and a large hub obviously in Poland, where we do a lot of high volume hiring, and then some recruiters dotted around local markets where we recruit in the local language. English is our common language as a US company, but there are people in inside sales roles and customer service roles who necessarily won't always speak English, and we need to be respectful of that and to hire to our market.
So how do you keep all these recruiters together then? What do you do?
I suppose the lovely thing is that recruiters by nature are great at building relationships, great at networking, like talking to people. So it's not a case of ever having to force people to connect with other recruiters, and that people are very, very happy to do that. And if you hire the right people, they will already want to do that, and on their first day, without even prompting, though we do make it easy for them and obviously introduce everyone, they do it naturally. So how the tools that we give them to do it are, we use a lot of video. I can't remember when I last made a phone call from a landline phone. It's always, if I want to talk to one of my team, if I want to talk to one of my stakeholders, it's always a video call. But we chat all the time. So we use Hangouts at Groupon. I would always have a chat room open, and I'm pinging people and they're pinging me. We use HipChat for sharing information and celebrating wins, and we use that globally. So we have one for all of the talent acquisition community across the US, APAC and EMEA, and that works really well. But I think chat is great, because we don't all have time to talk to all of our colleagues every day, but it's very easy to ping and say, "Hi Holly, how are you? How are things going?" And to ping back, and it might be just 1 minute or 30-second conversation, but I'm thinking about you. If I hear that a recruiter perhaps has had 3 rejected offers this week, it's easy to say, "Hi, you having a tough week? How are you feeling?" And it's not that I can take back the rejected offers for them, but at least they know that, I recognise they're having a tough week. And I think...
And others can chime in as well.
Yeah, exactly. So the chat is great, and we use Hangouts all the time. I mean, I've even found myself, I suppose, conscious effort initially to keep in touch with the people working in remote locations from me, but I've actually found myself going the other way now and starting to chat with people who are sitting 3 desks away from me, and realise, well, no, maybe I should just go over. But it becomes habit after a while. But I think initially, if you're starting to work for the first time in a decentralised organisation, or just working with remote workers, be it remote offices or people working from home, you've got to make the conscious effort, because people can feel invisible, very, very easily. And it may not be anything you're doing, but by nature that they are remote or maybe working from home, it is, I think, really important to make that effort, even if it's a conscious effort in the beginning.
So you have 2 offices in Poland, one in a very metropolitan city of Warsaw, which is fantastic. And it's, as a busy hub of a city, I'd say, you have your pick of candidates perhaps? Do you have a lot of different kind of teams there, or what's the story?
We have, we've got a big office in a great location in Warsaw, so it's like this multi-storey building. We've got about 5 floors of that building there, total almost 900 people working for Groupon in the building.
Massive.
And it is, because we hire a lot. Our office in Warsaw, which we've really ramped significantly over the last probably 2 years, up to 900 people. We support customers in lots of countries from there. So we're hiring linguists, we're hiring a lot of part-time jobs, a lot of flexibility, some full-time jobs as well, obviously. We're hiring Italian, Spanish, English, German. So we're hiring a lot of Polish people who are studying those languages and gives them an opportunity to use those skill sets. But we're also hiring Italian nationals who already live in Warsaw or who are willing to move to Warsaw. So, you know, we're even creating little communities, I think, as well, of different nationalities in Warsaw through what we're doing. And these people are supporting our customers around the world, not just in EMEA. They're supporting US, they're supporting parts of Asia Pac as well, all from our office in Warsaw. So, you know, we have great relationships with the universities and the language schools there, but there is a lot of competition. Warsaw is a very vibrant city. There are lots of great companies there, you know, including Groupon. So, you know, it's not that people are queuing up for jobs. We do have to go out into the market and build our brand and attract the talent.
But is there, like, I suppose Warsaw and parts of Poland in particular, for example, Krakow as well, will be huge outsourcing centres. Big outsourcing businesses would have, you know, huge teams where they'd suddenly turn on one day and we're going, okay, great, we're working for Groupon and we're supporting different parts of the Groupon business. Is that the case here as well, or?
Yeah, I think with the feedback that we get, and it's right, there's a lot of shared service centres in Warsaw. The feedback that we're getting from the people at interview stage and the people that we hire and work at Groupon in our customer service centre is that what brings them to Groupon and what keeps them there is the culture and the atmosphere in the offices. So they are, you know, like your offices here, they are nice trendy offices, lots of breakout areas, bean bags, and people work hard, but it is a very nice culture, and that's something that I think a lot of our competitors in Warsaw maybe are only, you know, starting to do. So that it helps us to attract people, and more importantly, it helps us to retain those people afterwards as well. And through word of mouth, we do get a lot of referrals of people coming into the company there.
And this is purely because of the offices, because of the way the offices feel?
I think it's the location. We have a great location, and that's very, very important, particularly when you're trying to attract entry-level career people, students on part-time jobs. If you're finishing college and going to do 4 or 5 hour shift in a part-time job, you don't want it to take an hour or 2 hours to get there. You want to get there, and you need to get home, you know, and maybe do some studying afterwards or some socialising afterwards. So to manage your life in a city where there is great public transport and the trams, etc., you know, you do need to have a good location, and we have that. That alone, I think, is not enough. That will get initial interest, but, you know, to come, that will get people to apply or come for an interview, but then to get them over the line and to actually want to work at Groupon, I think it's the people they meet, the relaxed atmosphere. We talk about our values, our leadership behaviours, and, you know, it is a fun environment, you know, very, very social environment. You know, a lot of students are there, so, and our leader of the business in Poland, you know, really works very, very hard to create and maintain an atmosphere that people want to work in.
Yeah, and is it a very Polish environment, or is it very multicultural,
No,
I suppose? Or?
Apart from knowing that you're in Warsaw, when you walk into that office, you couldn't tell, you know, you could be anywhere in Europe, really, you know. There's very, very diverse culture there, and people from all over Europe, yeah.
I think that's really special, having an office which you kind of, it just brings people alive, really, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So you've got your second office now in Poland as well.
Yeah, so we recently, just as of May, hired our first people down towards the south of Poland in the Silesian region, a city called Katowice. Probably pronounced that wrong, but in Polish it sounds a little bit different. So we hired our first people there in the middle of May. and it's now early July, and we have 100 people already started there. So, you know, it's been really interesting, very, very different, different part of Poland, slightly different culturally, and we had to adapt to that local community and how we built our brand and how we adopted our recruitment campaigns even. So been very, very successful. We did some fun things to try and attract people, and we've had a fantastic response from the market. We even had, when I was in Poland there 2 weeks ago, some of the trainers that were over from the US to start in the startup of this site said that the people we had hired in Katowice were at least as good, if not better, than teams that they've trained in the US. So I think, you know, it's a great compliment to the talent that's available in Poland, and in particular in Katowice. And it also shows, you know, that we are adhering to the culture of the US and hiring people that, you know, are representative of our behaviours and our values as well.
Well, that's the core nub of it. So how did you get all these people? Was it all through Facebook campaigns?
So,
was it?
Yeah. In Warsaw, the Facebook campaigns work very well, and a lot of online campaigns. And the team in Poland, they've done all the social talent training, and they're really putting that to great use, and it's helped a lot.
Good, glad to hear.
When we started looking at the Katowice project and looking at how people work in the region and socialise in the region, I felt that the online campaigns we needed to do, but that they were not going to be enough to hire the volume of people that we needed. We're going to do a really quick ramp to 300, maybe 400 people in that region, and we need to do that, you know, in months, not years. So when we looked at the, you know, the behaviours and styles of people there, we decided to do offline campaigns, and it's been a long time since I did a fairly major offline campaigns. This was fun, you know, stuff that we did naturally. When I worked in the Caribbean or South Pacific, or stuff, you know, 20 years ago in recruitment. So we did radio advertising, some fun stuff there. We did newspaper, full page newspaper ads. We did teasers before the real ads, before we had actually launched. And we did things like, you know, which are very impactful, like we wrapped a tram in Katowice. So the trams in Katowice are all bright red, and our one, the Groupon green, obviously, you know, really stood out and really nicely wrapped. The team in Poland did a great job. The screens inside the tram, so you're sitting in the Groupon tram looking at a video showing the culture of the offices, in you know, and then how to apply. So the feedback we've been getting, you know, even in the early stages from the candidates we're interviewing, is that they're hearing about the job from their grandfather who read the ad in the newspaper, their mother who heard the ad on the radio, and then they've seen the tram. So they've, you know, it's all come together. But yes, of course, we have done the local job boards in Poland and the Facebook campaigns and all of that as well. So it's been, you know, we didn't know if we were doing too much in the beginning. I don't think we did. We're continuing now the campaigns, you know, on for the rest of the year. But it's allowed us to hire 100 people in 6 weeks.
In 6 weeks.
In 6
that
weeks.
is no mean feat.
No.
And are these people, are they all the same? I mean, when you hear like your granddad was the one who passed you the job ad, did you get people from different age brackets applying? Was it a case of, you know, like, I suppose when you just do a social media campaign, the temptation is to see that as being a young person's campaign.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And I think, you know, online campaigns don't always bring the greatest diversity. Whereas if you combine the online campaigns, which will target for these particular roles, a lot of students who want to work full-time for the summer and perhaps part-time come October, which is fine with us at Groupon. You know, we give people a lot of flexibility. But also I think, you know, doing the offline campaign allows us to reach people who wouldn't otherwise have. They may have seen the tram but not known how to apply, or not get a lot of detail. Obviously, you know, we don't have a full job ad on the tram. So, you know, granddad saying, you know, oh, look at this ad, I've seen it in the local newspaper. I think it does allow us to reach, and we want a combination of the part-time workers and full-time workers. We know there will be some churn and people move on and, you know, finish college and, you know, move to a different part of Poland or move to another part of Europe. And that's great, and hopefully they will leave better professionals than they joined us, and gain some skills that will help them in their future careers. But we do need a core group, obviously, for some stability in the office, which will be the full-time workers. And I think the offline campaign has allowed us to reach a lot of those.
So Colette, we've spoken about tons here about the Groupon culture, how you're shaping that culture around every place that your decentralised teams are touching. It's been an absolutely fascinating conversation. Thank you so much for coming into it.
Okay, my pleasure.
Thank you.